I have recently seen a few YouTube artists using palette paper, so I went ahead and searched for it. I'll look to see exactly where I got it. I can't remember if it was Jerry's or Blick or even Jackson's. So I'll try to put a link in and let you know where I got this one. It was not Amazon, that's what I know. And it's really interesting because you can use this if you don't really have space anywhere to put down new paints, or you want to mix your neocolors or anything like that. And so I wanted to try this. As you can see, there's a rather shiny surface. It does bead a little bit the way a new palette does. And I don't know why I went to the second page, but I tore a piece off and I tried putting down a neocolor or a neocolor 2, as well as a museum watercolor pencil. This one only works if you wet the palette paper first, but as far as having an area to mix watercolors or any of your wet media without using up space in your palette, I think this is an interesting option, especially since I don't think this was more than like $5, and you get a lot of sheets. There's a variety of sizes, so you don't have to get the big one, but I just figured if I'm tearing it off, it doesn't really matter. I just kind of keep it in my closet, and I just wanted as much as I could get for my money. So I want to kind of play with this a little bit and see how it works, because initially I couldn't get these watercolor pencils, the museum ones, to work on it because the wax kind of repels it. But this is from this pencil, this swatch, so I'll show you in a minute how to make these work so that you can mix them on this and then put them onto your watercolor paper. Just use this as a palette. Let's look at some neocolor 2s first. This I did just a few minutes ago, and this goes down so easy. I'm not even using pressure. And sorry, this was dark ultramarine, and this is olive, I think. Olive. I don't like putting these down on my watercolor palette. I like to kind of keep everything separate. This is English red. So I think this is kind of a nice way to be able to have a little palette for them and mix them without buying like the $10 palette that's just kind of a piece of plastic. So let's do salmon pink. It really goes down smoothly. I mean, on watercolor paper, it doesn't go down that darkly. And light cobalt blue hue. And this one's really light. Okay, so now let's see how they mix. And I have some watercolor paper. Sure you can see. Okay. Over to the side. And there we go. Okay. So I'm gonna take this and mix it with the English red. And I want to make sure I didn't pick up too much water. I usually pick up too much water. Okay. So yeah, I think this works really nice for a little palette. I was worried about beading when I ordered it, but I really do like this. Okay, pick up some green. Now let's compare this to I don't always like to do that because even though these mostly completely dissolve, I don't really like the lines. And I think if I put it thick enough on that paper, I would get about the same color. This doesn't seem darker to me really than this one. I really like that lavender. That was from the English Red and the Ultramarine, I think. Yeah. So now let's look at that is, let's look at these guys. So I have these I'm just going to put down on here first so you can see. This is Payne's Gray. I'm really glad I got this one. It ended up being a really nice Payne's Gray. And it is 508. And then Burnt Sienna 50%. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people swatch this one out. This is such a nice color. I just want to be able to compare them to going red on the paper to the palette paper. And then Carmine Lake. And this is 575. The Burnt Sienna was 866, by the way. The number. I don't think you really need the number, though, if you have the name. So, Carmine Lake. And now I want to compare that to... Let me wet this first. And once again, I mean, these work great on paper, but if you want to be able to mix it separately and make your own color and then use it, that's where this sort of comes in handy. I didn't even think about using it for this when I got it. I actually got it for watercolors because, like I said, I'm sort of running out of room to put it down in my palette. Like if I want just to use one color for one day and then I have it for until I use it up and then I run out of space completely. Okay. Burnt Sienna 50%. See, there wasn't water there. You really need the water. And I don't really like putting the tips into the water. If you do that, just make sure you don't go down as far as the wood, because the wood can expand if you just dip this in your water and it can mess up the pencil. So just so you're aware. So I try not to really do that, or I'm really, really careful if I do. Okay. And then Payne's Gray. And I'll do watercolors in a second. I just wanted to see something that was a little bit more difficult to mix separately. Okay. So first, let me dissolve these. Some of these do seem more opaque than others. And I think with these, when they're more opaque, they actually are a little bit better. With watercolors, I like more transparency, but I have some colors of these pencils, and because they're so transparent, you can't really get much color from them. There's only like 2 that are that way, so that I have so far. So most of them are opaque and they wash out nicely. Okay, so if I wanted to mix this, new color, and now it's very similar to watercolor. Let's try just sort of a wash of this. And I want to make sure I'm not below the screen. Okay. Sometimes you're watching videos and people are painting away and you can't see what they're doing. I don't want to do that. Let me, I'm just going to put a green in here. So I have sort of another color to mix with. Wow, that is a muddy color. That was a bad choice. Okay. So anyway, you can sort of get the idea of how you can use these with different media. And I wasn't anticipating having that benefit when I got them, when I got the paper. I don't even know if I had these yet when I got the paper. I can't remember. Okay, so this is Da Vinci's Alley Crimson. Let's make sure that you can see. There. Put that down right there. That actually didn't seem to be, we'll see when I add water though. And I'm going to put down Hansa Yellow Medium. So we at least have something to mix. Okay, let's see. A little bit of beading, but really not too bad. And because I put it down wet, it's not going anywhere. So it's not like it's pushing it back into my brush. See, I can get it off my brush and on this, as opposed to when it beads on a new palette and you kind of can't get it off of your brush. So it either has to go on the paper or you have to rinse it off. So now let's try the yellow. And you can leave it to dry on this too. It dries just fine, so you don't have to use anything immediately. I do think that you would go through paint faster, this way than a regular palette, but in a pinch, if you don't have anywhere to put your paint down, that's where I think this is beneficial. Like you get a new tube of paint and you're not ready to put it in your palette yet, but you want to try the paint out. That's sort of the situation I got this for. So I think I like it. I'm actually glad I got it. It'll save a lot of space. So anyway, that is the palette paper, and I hope this was helpful.